I've read that the key to success in life, and success is a fairly low measure by this standard, that means getting enough education to support yourself, having a stable relationship, and staying out of trouble. The key to that, the one thing, that could be a trivia question, it correlates higher than anything else. Might take a guess? Take a guess? Having dinner with your family. Amazing. Having dinner with your family. Well, it's pretty hard to have dinner with your family when you're living in a car or a motel on East Colfax or being shuttled from shelter to shelter. Another one that's fascinating to me, and I'm an old real estate developer, semi-retired, working harder than ever running Hope Communities, is try this one. You're a 16-year-old refugee from Burma. You're the victim of a crime. How do you go to the cops? How do you trust the cops when the experience you had as a kid was when the militia rolled into your village, burned the houses, killed your father, and raped your mother? How do you trust authority? Those are compelling stories to me, and my life never experienced anything close to that. But I see it every day now, and it's truly, truly compelling. So I'm Larry Fullerton. I'm the Executive Director of Hope Communities. Hope is a 33-year-old Denver nonprofit. We provide rental housing to low-income families. In addition to housing, we provide services for people like those above. Now let me expound a little bit on those two examples of who live there. We currently have 4 apartment buildings in 3 different neighborhoods in Denver. One of them is what I call Far East Denver, which means it's almost in Aurora, near Yosemite and Colfax. And 3/4 of the people who live there are refugees, mostly from Southeast Asia, some from Africa, all from war-torn countries, starvation countries, and countries you and I could never live in. We have more from Burma than anywhere else, now called Myanmar, but they also come from Nepal and then African countries of Sudan and Somalia. It's a piece of our population most of us are totally unfamiliar with until you go to the Dragon Boat Festival or something like that, and then it's just good food. But what these people have been through, and then escaped to a nearby country and lived in a refugee resettlement camp for years, literally years, waiting for the UN to certify them as a refugee, which means they can't return to their native home for fear of oppression by the local people. That's an official refugee word. Official UN definition of a refugee. Very different from what we all think of as immigrants and others. But they've been through war and genocide. They've lost their homes. Property's been confiscated. Many of them have traveled at night in darkness to escape for months to get the heck out of there with kids. They've watched their places of worship. And in Burma, we have well over 20 different languages and dialects being spoken, several different religions, and they are not nice to each other. The Muslims don't like the Buddhists don't like the Christians they burn down each other's temples. And many have been forced marriage at an early age. So they go to the refugee resettlement camp, they go for years, they're living there, most of them have no education, many are illiterate in their own native language, and then their number is finally drawn, and Lutheran Family Services or somebody else flies them to the U.S. and they set foot in Denver. They've never seen a high-rise. They've never seen the low-flush toilet that Mile High Youth Corps installed. Many of them have never seen a stove. They don't know anything. This is an entirely different world for them. We often think they came here for a better life. In reality, they came here to survive first. So we take these people, and we have lots and lots of partnerships, including some in the room. The Spring Foundation, or the Spring Institute, is one of our biggest, and it's totally dedicated to helping people from other countries settle here, learn our culture, learn our systems, and survive in a new way of life here in the U.S. But they're living in our apartments, one of which made news recently when she was crossing the street at 14th and Yosemite with 2 young children in a baby carriage. Out of control, hit-and-run driver ran all 3 of them over, killed the 2 children, and badly injured her. She's barely surviving now emotionally. She woke up from coma in the hospital and was told that her 2 children are dead. But I don't want to make this too horrible, but what they face are things that you and I will never face. And one of the things we're learning is You can invent a program, and Larry thinks it's a good idea to teach financial literacy, but until we understand who these people are, I don't get it. Most of you in the room don't get it. So we have social workers and graduate interns from DU mainly, who are doing a lot of one-on-one work with these families and trying to rebuild things like trust and a family structure. They come from a paternalistic society, and Dad is now here and he ain't working. It just upsets everything in the family. So our job is to give them a safe, clean, affordable place to live, help them get their lives back in order so they can be successful. The second story that I try to mention is, I have 3 grown daughters, and very happily, to me, they're all independent, and 2 out of 3 are now parents on their own, and we're very, very proud of them. But it could have been my kids, the same as probably some of yours. There were times we didn't know what was going on in their lives. We were worried and scared to death. But a lot of kids do fall through the cracks, through no fault of their own, really. They didn't like school, they got in with the wrong crowd. All of a sudden you get somebody who's 22 years old, no education, has 3 kids, working at 7-Eleven. What does she really want? The same thing every other mom in America wants. She wants her kids to have a safe, clean place to live, where they come home tonight and have a family dinner. She wants her kids to live in a neighborhood where they have friends. She wants them to go to the same school 3 years in a row, not bounce around because what shelter is available or what boyfriend is available. But she wants the same thing that you do as moms, and I do as dad. And that's what we try to do for her. We're serious about who lives in our properties. She knows with 99% certainty that her next door neighbor is not a drug dealer. He hasn't been convicted of sexual violence, and he's not a pimp. So she feels secure in our homes. We're not perfect, but it's a huge high standard for us to protect our own residents. So Hope has been around 33 years. That's what we do. I would say the same thing that many have said today. And it's like after the horrible devastation of Haiti, you get on your cell phone and you text, whatever you text, something, $10. Your $10 adds up. Pretty soon there's $10 million. That's what it really is. A little bit from everybody. We're all in this together. I know you're all kind, generous, loving people. We'd like for you to give through CCC, give through your church or something else. We know you're doing that. And we appreciate it very, very much. I also tell you, apologize, I don't know the rules, but I will go anywhere, anytime, any place to tell the Hope story.